welcome to Christy Grace Scarlet Pen. I'm an author, creativity chickster, and book lover. There's a lot of books in here and most of them I have not read. I feel guilty about that. But we're gonna fix it today because I am doing another TBR video and I am trying to work through what I already own but have not yet read instead of buying new books all the time, which is what I went through a phase of just buying way too many and all the time and often. At least 2/3 of my books I have not read yet. Very disappointed about that because they are awesome. But today I'm doing another TBR video, which is going to be a fun way to actually get through them rather than finding new ones. And so I have decided to make it fun for myself that I am going to let Storygraph pick my books. So if you don't know, Storygraph is kind of like Goodreads, but like on steroids, I would say. Goodreads on steroids, because there are so many other things that you can see, like statistics. I still like Goodreads and I still post on Goodreads and use it, but I have started doing both now for, you know, different reasons. I like them both for different reasons. One of the cool things that I like though with Storygraph is I noticed they have the to read pile, and I do not screen share, but here you go anyway. But they have like this to read file. It will randomly come up with options every time you open it, and just now when I did that it had already refreshed, and so I'm really tempted to, let's just go with this one. So my idea was for my TBR, I wanted to pick about 5 books from this random list, and usually there's, I think, maybe like 10 or something that come up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 20 options that have come up just randomly. So I think what I'm going to do, 20 is a lot, but what I'm going to do is if I see one that I really think could potentially make the list, I'm going to pull it out because it's all here anyway. Then if there are too many, I will go through and try and change and fix it. So let's have a look. So we've got, the first book is The Cost of Betrayal, which is a partnership of 3 different authors I like. Dee Henderson, love her, Danny Petrie, and Lynette Eason. The second one is Seconds to Live. It's to do with Homeland Security and some other things. Okay. Maybe. That's by Susan Sleeman. The next one is called Tiger Queen, and it is by Anne Sullivan. This is like a fantasy book, and actually I'm going to pull this one out because this book lives on my hardcover shelf, and that is the bottom shelf because they're so heavy. I put them on the bottom, not because they're irrelevant or whatever. This lives on my bottom shelf. I genuinely love the idea of this book, and I just wanted to read it for a really long time. So I'm kind of happy it came up on my list because this is really cool. So they've got like the little tag here, which is sand in her veins, blood on her sword, a kingdom in the balance. Tiger Queen, oh my gosh. Okay, wait, let me read it and explain to you what it's actually about. Wait, no, I think I'll just, when I actually pick what they are, I will go over it. I think it's sort of like an Arabian Queen type princess story-ish. Maybe. We'll find out. But I think also there's like some sort of superpower happening. Okay, I'm gonna put this in my list of my pile of potentials. Okay. Then I'll talk about them all later if I'm picking them and if they're relevant enough. if they cut it. I'm so glad this next book is on here because honestly I think this is definitely gonna make it onto my list, and it's called Tacos for Two by Betsy St. Amant. Genuinely wanted to read this for like forever. One thing I will say, it frustrates me to no end, is that the cover of a book is one color and the spine is another. I bought this online. I was not expecting a different, I was expecting orange. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Tacos for Two. Oh my gosh, it's such a cute story about a food truck war between two guys, like a girl and a guy having a food truck war and a romance blossoming underneath that. Such a cute little story. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in my pile and I'll talk about it a little bit more if I pick it, which let's face it, I'm going to. The next one on here, if I don't go through these quicker, then I'm just gonna never make it to the end because there's 20. The next one on the list is called Taken by Dee Henderson. It's just up there. This book, I love Dee Henderson. This was one of her sort of later releases. It's more recent. And I feel like she sort of ended up writing books that are like a slower going, and they weren't as quick action exciting. It's about a girl who had been taken and she comes back and it's like this big thing because it was famous that she disappeared, whatever. and so she sort of is trying to come back into the real world and had escaped what was going on. But it's really slow going. I tried to read it. I think I made it like 50 pages in before I sort of put it down and decided to try again another day. So I'm not going to add that to my list, but I do want to eventually finish it because that would be nice. Yeah. The next one I'm actually going to pick up and put on my pile because honestly, this sounds like so much fun. That is The Griffin Heist by James R. Hannibal. The fact that his last name is Hannibal is hilarious to me. I am very sorry if you're watching, but anyways, and your last name is Hannibal. So this is basically about a heist, and I think it's, where is it? In the CIA in Moscow. Gosh. There is like some sort of high-tech tech vault, I think. Okay, literally is described as a high altitude data vault in the meosphere. Oh my gosh. And she has a partner. She's not sure of his motives, whether he's trying to access it for safety reasons or if he's trying to like steal the data. It's a civilian partner as well, but she's like also a rookie CIA. So I love heists. I love heist stories. I think they're fun. Okay, the next one on the list is Sins of the Past, which is another one which has 3 authors in one, also up there, Dee Henderson, Danny Petrie, and Lynette Eason. Sort of like 3 novellas that sort of are linked together. This next one I'm going to add to my pile. I'm 3 so far on my pile, which isn't too bad. And it's called, wait, I'm going to get it first. It is called The Last Christian by David Gregory. This sounded like a really fun, cool dystopian fantasy idea. It's supposed to be in 2088. So that is coming way faster than we imagine. It's like 60 years away. Anyway, well, 60 something years. So this actually is kind of interesting because when was this released? I think this was released a while ago. This was released in 2010, but it has actually been so long since I have read anything to do with this book, and I had no idea this was what the story is about. Seriously, this is crazy. So basically, this girl wakes up, this girl emerges out of the jungle and goes to America with a mysterious message from her grandfather. She feels like she should go, and finds out that there's been a huge surge in AI technology over the last 30 years, and that actually now people are transferring their consciousness into like sort of AI machines so they can live for like longer or forever or whatever. And yeah, brain transplants into silicon form. But she doesn't know if she really wants to do that. But apparently people are, wanting her to be, and they don't want her to speak out against this idea. I'm sure this is big bucks for people, and I don't know if like potentially that means people are dying. Like if the tech isn't actually developed and people are just tricking everyone else to think it is. Oh, wouldn't that be a fun twist? I'm gonna have to keep you updated, because honestly, if when I read this eventually, this sounds like so much fun. Honestly, the spiritual future of all humanity hangs in the balance. I ended up telling you that I wasn't going to talk about them when I put them on my list, but I ended up telling you about them anyways. So why don't I go back? I'm gonna come back to Tiger Queen because I feel like that's the one I really didn't talk about much. Okay, so basically the main character in this book, her name is Princess Kateri. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. And she is 16 years old, and she all of a sudden has to, is put in a position where she is now going to be ruler. But apparently, according to their customs and whatever, the traditions, she has to fight for it in an arena. Behind one door is the keys to the kingdom, and behind the other is a tiger. And she has to, I think, sounds like she has to pick a door and hope for the best. I don't know. But if she potentially gets the tiger, she knows she can't win apparently. She really does not think she can win. The next book on the list I am going to also add. I think there are quite a few in here. I'm like, I really want to read it. 9 by Rochelle Decker. So, Ted Decker's daughter Rochelle. Honestly, I've bought maybe 4 of her books already and haven't read a single one. I honestly have no idea if I even like her as an author. The concepts of her stories sound so good. So, I probably should at least read 1, right? I bought 4. Okay, so basically the storyline of this is our main character, Zoe Johnson, is randomly in a diner, and a teenage girl who has no memory and doesn't know what's going on except that she's being chased stumbles into this diner and she agrees to go and try and help her. Even though she doesn't know her, she goes to help her. The only clue that she has is a woman who either is going to potentially help them to figure out what's going on, or potentially, you know, be the last person that they see. I think that's how they see it. Yeah, the last person to see them alive. The next one on here is Threads of Suspicion by Dee Henderson, and it is an Evie Blackwell cold case book. I tried to read this one, or the other one that's the cold case. So there's two cold case books, Threads of Suspicion and Traces of Guilt. And this is late Dee Henderson, so like more recent Dee Henderson, and it's pretty slow. The other book next to it though, here, I will pull out. Let me tell you, this book has a story and a half behind it. Expiration Date by Eric Wilson. Okay, this book is out of print and is very difficult to get hold of. When was it even released? I don't even know. 2005, which really isn't that long, but it is out of print most places that I try and find it. So this is a secondhand copy. Oh, a present. It's a Fanta. Anyway, so main character Clay Riker can see when someone is going to die, their expiration date. He knows what date and time, I think. And a serial killer finds out that he has this ability and actually targets him and comes after him and sort of brings him into this cat and mouse type of a chase. I love cat and mouse stories with like really smart bad guys. Not in IRL, but in books. Yeah. Okay, the next book I'm really tempted to pull out, but I'm already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm already 6 books deep. So I'm going to pull it out. I have to. The problem with this list is that all of these books are ones that I actually legitimately want to read. But this one is Blessed Child by Ted Dekker. Da, da, da. I think this book is linked to the Circle universe. Yes, no, maybe? Not sure. Doesn't really matter. Love Ted Dekker. Oh my god. And Bill Bright, apparently. Ted teamed up with someone called Bill Bright. Fun. I actually love it when authors team up. I think it's really fun and really interesting because then you get like multiple perspectives. Anyway, basically this book follows the main character, this little boy called Caleb, and Caleb ends up in he's a little kid who is orphaned, and he ends up in a monastery, and people start to realize that actually he has this weird power of being able to heal people, and there is people who want to use that against him, and the people trying to protect him and make it, you know, be able to survive, while there's debate around the world about this power. Should it be used, I suppose, for the common good, or should he be hidden away? Is it real? All this kind of stuff. Okay, so the next book on here was A Time to Die by Nadine Brandes. This is sort of like a lot of books about, you know, time when people die. How interesting. Okay. So, this next book on here is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. If you haven't heard about this book yet, what rock are you living under? I'm almost at the end, thank goodness, but then I have to try and cull down this amazing list. Okay, I want to read this book, but I'm not going to add it into this list. Twisted by Steve Kavanaugh. Never Let the Murder Get in the Way of Good Stories. So someone, I think it's like Unreliable Narrator. The next one I will pull out, oh my gosh, the next two. I'm actually going to pull out the next two right now because I know I want them. Okay, there are only 4 more, so I'm just going to really quickly run through. So Dean and Me is sort of like a autobiography type thing with Jerry Lewis talking about him and Dean Martin. That was on the list here that came up. That is like a non-fiction. I'm not feeling like non-fiction feels right now, so I'm not going to put that on my list, but I do have the other 3 here, and I'll quickly run through them because then I'm going to have to cull everything down. The first one is, this book is called Haven of Swans by Colleen Coble. So this sort of follows 3 perspectives as far as I can tell. The bad guy who tries to kidnap a woman and her child. She randomly doesn't remember who she is. She's sort of by the side of the road. Her child is with her. She's sort of escaped this situation, but she's amnesia. She doesn't know. The cop finds her house where there's blood, and you know, this woman and child are missing. And you have the bad guy in this, which he calls himself Gideon, and he wants to wipe out. He's a destroyer of evil. He's trying to get rid of all the evil in the world, and he's killed at least 5 times already. They cray cray. They think they're legitimately doing good things and they end up just not. Don't come at me for that comment. But like, you know what I mean? Like he thinks that he's ridding the world of evil by killing people. So, you know, the next book that was there was The Inheritance Games. Oh, apparently I like it so much I'm throwing it around the room. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is something that is going around. I actually, hilariously enough, bought the second book first, The Hawthorne Legacy, because I liked the cover. This is actually, I love this cover. This is a different cover than the ones I see everywhere. Maybe it's because I'm in Australia. A girl, teenage girl who doesn't know this person, this billionaire dies, leaves her all his money, and everyone in his family are really confused, and she sort of has to move in with them and figure out why, like play his game to figure out why she got the money and to actually get it. I think they have to play, you know, play by his rules, whatever. Yeah, so there's 3. I actually, hilariously enough, saw an episode of Magnum PI with Tom Selleck. By the way, love that show. It's such a good show. It's a concept that Magnum was randomly left, this billionaire randomly left him money, but then it turns out that actually in the episode, I have no idea about this, but in the episode it turns out that the guy who supposedly died faked his own death just to see how his family would react if he gave his money to a stranger. I am not going to call these books out and say that that's what happened here, because that was a TV episode of Magnum PI. But wouldn't that be interesting if that was the case? And then I feel like Jennifer Lynn Barnes would have ripped off an episode of Magnum PI. I'm going to have to report back and tell you if that's the case, because that would be really funny. And the last book on this list, I'm so happy at least one of these books came out onto this list, because is Plot Twist by Bethany Turner. Oh my gosh, I love Bethany Turner. She is absolutely hilarious. Oh, so good. I'm really excited. Plus also this story is about a writer. Always fun to read. So 10 years ago, our main character, Olivia Ross, met up with this cute aspiring actor, and she's an aspiring screenwriter, and they met in this coffee shop. They had some sparks, and they agreed that in 10 years that they would come back together and do a project together, no matter where they were at. And it's coming up close to the time. She's still struggling, but she realizes that the guy who she met up with 10 years ago is actually pretty famous right now. Hamish McDougal, and he's an A-list Hollywood star. And so she wonders, is he gonna come? And if he does, how will that look? Will they still have a spark? What's gonna go on? And yeah, it just sort of sounded really cute. This actually was one of my haul videos that I did, specifically like the cover where it was a closed door or a, you know, no spice like romance. And I love Bethany Turner. She's absolutely hilarious. And you know what? Look at this inside cover. How cool is that? Just think that's amazing. So that is the end of the 20 that Storygraph had randomly, on random shuffle, picked out of what I have. This is just too many. I will not read all of these in a month. So I've ended up with 10 out of the 20. I pulled half. And out of this half, I have to get down to half. So yeah, let's quickly go over them again and we'll see. Okay, what have we got? I'm going to pull Plot Twist by Bethany Turner because I love her, and The Inheritance Games because, again, people are talking about this and it sounds really good, and so that'll be fun. So that's 2. I think the third one that I want to pull is Tiger Queen, because I've been putting that off and it sounds like a really cool idea and a cool story. So I've got Tiger Queen, that's 3. So I have 1 romance, 1 mystery, 1 fantasy. So I'm doing well. 2 more. I'm really feeling the Griffin heist. Another genre for a heist book. I think that would be good for a heist story. I think I'm a little skeptical for The Last Christian, but I think I'm going to pick it for that reason, that I'm skeptical that it's actually going to be any good. Stick with these 5 and read those. I'm really excited. If you have read any of these, please let me know. Probably The Inheritance Games is the most likely that someone has read out of these books. But let me know what you thought about them. I am excited to get reading. I'll see you guys in the adventures. Like, subscribe if you really want to. But otherwise, bye. I don't know why I did that.